So if every technique that you've been doing is actually somehow working to delay your manifestation, then would you want to know why? Because one of my clients manifested incredible things, manifested her father's amazing recovery, manifested the love of her life, only when she stopped using all of her techniques. She turned what was essentially a 3-year torturous, elongated bridge into a few months when she basically stopped doing all of them. And what happened next in relation to her dad's health and in relation to her relationship actually goes everything against what this community thinks it knows about manifestation. Because her story, and when I share it with you, you'll see what I mean. But her story exposes the exact problem that almost every single person in the manifesting world makes. The mistake that has somehow turned the law into some sort of spiritual OCD, which then results in delayed manifestations. It's a detriment to your mental well-being. It keeps you in an identity that needs techniques in order to feel safe. And as we know, this isn't manifesting. So in this video today, I'm going to show you some really important things. I'm going to show you why techniques stop working the moment that you need them. I'm going to show you why visualizing and affirming can actually keep your SP away, just like it did for her for the last 3 years. And I'm also going to share with you 3 really important, game-changing, life-changing, whatever, it's just going to blow your mind, rules that essentially turned her world around. This is what we did to shift her reality, amidst other things, which I always share with you guys. And you're going to hear what's going on, because when you understand my client's case study, you will access information that many people will never be able to access. They'll never come across this. You've got to be ready to receive this. And like I say, those of you who are here and subscribe to this channel are indeed ready to receive this. This is why our success rates are so incredibly high. This is why so many of you are just so amazing. This is why so many coaches have been coming to me with their hardest cases, even their own manifestations as well. And why I've had the privilege of working with so many, like I say, incredible manifestors, high profile individuals, even celebrity clients as well from Bollywood and Hollywood. It's spreading to Bollywood. Did I say Bollywood? But it's actually spreading to Bollywood. And it's incredible to see these changes, because everybody suffers with this, no matter where you're from, no matter your background, no matter your status. No one is exempt. But I must admit, I am just so privileged to be part of a community that has so much success. I'm getting WhatsApp messages, I'm getting Telegram messages, I'm getting emails from you guys, I'm getting comments in the Discord as well, and in our live sessions in the Discord. It's just always people are sharing. I mean, I was looking at the health chat channel this morning just for my own inspiration and reminder of the incredible things that can be achieved on this journey. See, you guys inspire me too, so if any of you are feeling exhausted, if any of you are feeling anxious that if you stop doing your techniques, you're not going to manifest your desires, if any of you have almost become dependent on them for anxiety management, then this video is for you. You want to see what you can achieve without having to do techniques all the time? I'm going to show you. But first, you better sit back and relax and grab yourself a hot drink and get ready to collect some very juicy gems I'm going to be dropping your way. Make sure you take some notes, and cheers to all of you, and to all of our successes, to all of our manifestations. Just lovely. Now, my aim is that I reveal a lot to you in this video so that manifestation becomes much more easy and effortless. We did a live session last week, didn't we, on my channel? Thank you for those of you who joined, like 3-hour epic live, wasn't it? It didn't feel like it. And also thank you very much for those of you who sent some very, very generous donations. Even Joseph was impressed, and I've been spending it on little Bean at the moment and his health and his recovery, and he's just fast asleep resting at the moment. But I just wanted to thank you guys. He is enjoying the extra treats, and he's doing better. So thank you as well for those of you who have asked and checked in on his health. And I'm going to, like I say, in today's video, I'm going to actually share a really incredible client case study that I'm going to break down for you. But before I go into my client's case file, I also wanted to let you guys know of something very, very exciting, because it's finally ready. And it's something that many of you were asking for quite a few years, actually. Now, it's no secret, my specific person that I had manifested, some of you have actually seen this manifestation occur in real time. He is, yes, he is a YouTuber, but he is also a software engineer. And this guy codes in his sleep, I tell you. So yes, he did just release that Neville Goddard study tool, which I know you guys are really enjoying. Like I was saying, there's a free version of it, for all of you. Go and enjoy, read and access Neville's lectures, see the teachings in real time, speak to Neville about the lectures. But can you believe it that Joseph, he created another app. So he's created this other app, and it's really cool. And again, it's free for all of you. It's free. Another gift to the community, because we've been listening. Like I say, we listen to what people say on the Discord. We listen to you guys in the comments. And it seems that a lot of people have really struggled with feeling very alone on this journey. And people want more than anything to have others that they can talk to about this stuff, or to make connections with other people who are also spiritually minded, or who understand manifestation. You want maybe to date someone like that. Maybe you want to just make friends like that. Maybe you just want an accountability partner, whatever it is. But you want to make connections with people who understand the work at a deeper level, because of course, this is a very lonely journey. Joseph and I had started our journey many years ago. Like, I started 24 years ago. I didn't have community. I didn't have a lot of the social media that we had back then. And I was very lonely. Like, I would have benefited a lot from having that now, because I noticed the connection Joseph and I make, and how much we've learned even just from each other. So if you would like to join sovereignmind.com, and I'll put the link in the description box below, but it's just a really cool place to make those sorts of connections. So we've got the Discord for our live sessions, the group hypnosis, the weekly live Q&As. That's where that kind of stuff is happening. We do have a community there too, but Sovereign Mind is literally, think of it like the social version of that, where you get to meet people, you get to maybe date. So be the first to join. And like I say, it's all free. It's completely free, because we don't want you guys feeling alone anymore. We're trying to build more of a sense of community, and there's strength in this too. So you ready? Are you ready for a bit of a story time? Because I'm going to tell you this incredible story with all the twists. Again, I mean, if any of you thought, are worried about your circumstances or the complexity of your manifestation, hats off to this girl. I'm going to call her Eleanor, by the way. I never share their real name, as you know. But when Eleanor came to me, she was in absolute disarray. She was battling a lot of anxiety. She had a lot of old wounds that had left her in a very devastated state. And she'd been on the journey manifesting health for her dad, plus her relationship with her specific person, for 3 years before she found me. So you can imagine at this point, she was on the verge of complete insanity. Now, in relation to her father, the condition that he was suffering with was IBD, so it's a bowel disease. It's called ulcerative colitis, right? So it's like chronic inflammatory bowel disease. And it can be, for those that suffer, it can be absolutely relentless. Now, he had done the whole medical tour, from medication to steroids to injections. And every time they seemed to get a handle on things, these flare-ups could come back even worse. So she's there, Eleanor is there, watching her father seemingly just deteriorating, at the mercy of this disease. So, here's her dad. He used to be really outgoing. He used to be very active. He used to be very social, very present. And now suddenly he's become a shadow of himself. Well, I say suddenly, it's over, like I say, over years. He's a shadow of himself. He's more exhausted. He's lost a load of weight, and he's stopped leaving the house as much. By this point, he wasn't leaving the house. He just lost all sense of confidence. So what did she do? she played the role of good daughter. You know, she made herself a full-time carer. She would cancel her plans. She would miss out on work events or social events. She was basically just saying no to a lot of things in her life. She put her own identity and her own life on hold, because she just felt really responsible for her father. And she also felt very strongly that everyone else's needs mattered even above her own. So when she told me about the dynamic between her and her father, and I've only skimmed across it here, she did tell me quite a lot of details. I knew that the code that was running beneath all of this was that, okay, I am only valuable when I sacrifice myself. And it's really interesting. It's going to become more evident as I share this in more detail. But just keep that bit in mind, okay? So with that assumption plus others running, she didn't realize what was going on at a subconscious level. And wait, because you're going to see more of it. You're going to see more of how this assumption in particular, as well as a couple of others, absolutely devastated her life. So as if that situation isn't bad enough in relation to the father, we now add on the element of love, okay? How many of you are manifesting love? Of course. Of course, you're here. So Eleanor was working at a shop, and she's working with her best friend, Ava. And, you know, these two have known each other since college days. So they've got a proper deep bond. And Ava is the type of friend that Eleanor would just share everything with. Now, Eleanor had the biggest crush on her supervisor. And from the very moment that she saw him, you know, there was something between them. You know, there was a little bit of banter, there was a bit of flirtation. Essentially, what there was, albeit not much, what there was enough to make other colleagues comment and ask, you know, is there something going on between you guys? So, you know, it was evidently something. And he even started exhibiting, shall I say, behaviors that demonstrated that he's testing the waters. You know, he would ask her, do you want to come and grab a coffee? Or he would make a suggestion that, yeah, you know, me and a couple of people are going to the bar after work. Are you going to come as well? There was even an occasion on his lunch break where he bought her lunch without her even asking for it. And so there was many more things like this, but do you know what she did with all of that? Fobbed it off, completely erased it, as though it was nothing. And she also had forgotten a hell of a lot of these details too, because of these assumptions. She essentially, the story she told herself in light of this 3D evidence was that, well, he's just being a friend. He's being a good boss. He's just being considerate because he knows that I've got a really sick father and stuff. So this to her was essentially sympathy. It wasn't a sign of interest and love. And she disregarded it. You know, her needs and stuff, it's not important, right? Her focus was elsewhere at home with her father. She also was just like, yeah, he does this with everybody. I mean, he's just a kind person. It was only until we changed her state that a lot of the truth, shall we say, came to the surface, a lot of stuff that she had dismissed. And she didn't realize, I think she was really shocked to realize how much she had pushed him away at this point without even knowing it. So how many of you, can you see what's happening here? Because this is how assumptions work. This is why it's the law of assumption. This is why your assumptions persisted in will become fact, right? So they're not just abstract things. It is essentially a filter through which you experience your life. So if deep down your story is, right, I'm never the chosen one, then you will walk past all evidence that says you are chosen, and you'll fob it off in favor for the evidence that says you are not chosen. Remember, it's all existing now. All versions of you. So this is where things get even more devastating, shall we say. Poor Eleanor. Yeah, so she had a really, really tough bridge of events coming up. You see, back at the shop, she's taking on her shifts. She's talking to Ava about her specific person and how, yeah, I noticed that his face sort of lit up a bit when he saw me. And she's noticing that he's taking a bit of extra care and attention to, like, her schedule, for example. She is, when she's speaking to when she's speaking to Ava about her SP, what's interesting is that she is reciting her own story of being chosen, and she doesn't even realize it. That's something I noticed during our call, and it was really fascinating. But anyway, Ava is like being a good friend. She's listening. She's encouraging her friend. You know, she desperately wants to set them up. But the universe intervenes anyway, and here is this wonderful opportunity. I think it was some sort of group event, company event, marketing, something anyway. There was going to be this party, and it was going to be all this fancy evening with Prosecco flowing. And so Eleanor's specific person, like this guy, he's there saying, okay, you know, I really hope that you're going to be there. And Ava is also desperately pushing, like, Eleanor, you have to come. But of course, Eleanor's very concerned about her father, who has just had another flare up. He's in a really, really bad way. And so, and I'll tell you this, through our conversation, we came to discover that he really wasn't that bad that night. In fact, what it was that Eleanor was just projecting her own fears and her own image, making him seem sicker and weaker than was actually the truth. That's how powerful assumptions are, you see. So she's projected that image, which then gave her a lot of guilt and a lot of fear, which meant that, okay, I have to turn this event down because I've got to look after my father, you see. Because remember, her identity is, I can't put myself first. If I put myself first, I am being selfish. So she goes and she stays at home. She's still engaging in her techniques, by the way. She's known the law this whole time. And so she's diligent, right? I'm doing my daydreaming and I'm doing my affirmations, and got to keep up with those affirmations, right? So that he can come in closer, so he can be obsessed with me. And the whole time that she's at home engaging in her techniques, something else was happening somewhere in a land far, far away. No, something else was happening, right? During this evening. You see, her incessant techniques, the only impact they were having was to manage her anxiety. But 3D reality had to reflect her assumptions. So what happens is Ava gets drunk, Ava gets flirty, Ava goes home with a specific person. How many of you saw that coming? I must admit, I was actually shocked when she told me. I didn't see it coming. But yes, Ava goes home with the very guy that her best friend has been talking about pretty much every day that they are working together. And so when Eleanor found out, and she didn't find out from her SP or Ava, she found out through work colleagues who just happened to be talking about it, as you do. You know, she had in that moment 2 old wounds just explode. The wound that she gets betrayed. She gets betrayed by women who are meant to protect her. Now, that was a big wound, because what had happened was, in her childhood, her mother had actually left when she was young. You see, her father was the one that raised her. Mother met someone else and just abandons them. Total betrayal. And then, of course, she's got the other assumption that men always choose other people over her. This is why she'd never really had a proper relationship. She was used to the guys that she liked not really reciprocating or dating someone else, or already being in a relationship with someone else. This is what she was used to as well, because, of course, and this is your juicy gem as well, you see, if you're not chosen, if you assign yourself second place, life has to fill the role that you leave empty. It has to. That's how it works, okay? So you assume yourself to be second. That means someone else has to come in first place. That's the code. Install that in your mind, because that's really, really important. So now, poor girl, right? We've got heartbreak, we've got betrayal, we've got abandonment, we've got a father whose health just seems to be declining beyond her very control. And instead of being able to grieve this and process what's going on, her brain does what all anxious brains try to do. It tries to fix and control the reality. So she ramps up the manifestation techniques. She ramps up the affirmations. He loves me. He's coming back. You know, he's obsessed, whatever. You know, she starts visualizing, and she's trying really hard with her visualization. She's got this scene down to a T. She is doing it in HD style. You know, he's sort of sobbing. He's like really regretful. He's really apologizing. He's saying, you know, I was wrong. I choose you. Like, please give me another chance. And, you know, like I said, she's scripting as well. I think she was even going to tarot readers. She was listening to subliminals. You know, she had an array of techniques, some of which I wasn't even familiar with, actually, because she would just throw everything she could at this situation. I mean, it was literally, it was insane. And then she would pick a few of her favorite techniques, the ones that made her feel good, the ones that helped her regulate her nervous system, right? All this is like a fashion now. Let me regulate the nervous system with techniques. Let me tell you why this is keeping you stuck. And I'll go into that in a bit, but, you know, before I forget, like I say, when you listen to her language and the backstory and what she's doing here, okay, yeah, she's doing it to, like I say, regulate the nervous system, right? What is this typical of? This is typical like OCD structure, isn't it? Because then it becomes, all right, if I don't keep on affirming and imagining, then it's not going to happen. You see the pattern? The thought process. You know, if I doubt it, I'm going to push it away. Well, if I stop, you know, then he's not going to come back. Yeah, but this is not living in the end. That's not what manifesting is about. If you're using techniques to calm your anxiety, and we discussed this in the live, didn't we, last week? So this is what gave me the idea for the video this week, because many of you were saying you are exhausted, you're burnt out. You're not supposed to be. Like, this is not a burnout process. This is meant to be quite effortless, right? This is more about an attention to your focus, to where you reside in your awareness. So let's comfort you a bit, shall we? Because remember, I mean, Neville said, creation is finished. Creation is finished. They didn't say, okay, creation begins when you finally manage a 4K cinema in your skull. Or did he? Can you imagine Neville quoting something like that? Yes, creation is it's only there when you manage that 4K cinema. No. Creation is finished. You be still and know that you are God. You be still and know that you are already everything that you desire to be. The screen of awareness, it doesn't need a particular image to be itself. The images are actually, believe it or not, secondary. So think of it this way. Think that, all right, it's not so important like what you were visualizing. It's more important to understand who is the one doing the visualizing or the affirming or the scripting or whatever technique you're using, right? Who is the one doing it? Because if the one doing it is still the abandoned girl, the rejected man, the broke version of you, then every scene or every affirmation, everything you say is always going to secretly be reaffirming the fact that, you know, I'm not chosen, actually. I'm not safe. I don't have it yet. People don't realize that they're doing this, you see. And that's the real reason why so many people are doing techniques and are oftentimes not getting anywhere. If anything, they're just getting a load of OCD and a lot more anxiety or anxiety management. So let's go back to Eleanor, right? Because the harder she tried, the worse it got. And actually, it seemed like reality was doing the very opposite of what she was imagining. How many of you have been going through this? Okay. So you've got the SP, right? He's hooked up with Ava. You've got her father who's struggling still with this ulcerative colitis, and his mental health is really struggling. She's struggling as well. Her mental health is really struggling. And then on top of that, quite soon after that event, her specific person left the company, as did Ava, probably not surprisingly. And there was a period of time, I will say, that for a brief moment, she did, like Eleanor did think, okay, maybe my techniques are working, because she did then find out that Ava and her specific person, you know, they kind of stopped dating. That had finished. But of course, no, the techniques didn't change anything, right? Because that assumption was still very much alive in her about not being chosen. And as a result, he found someone else that he got with. And this time, this particular girlfriend seemed to be someone that, well, they looked very compatible. They matched a lot. There was a lot of pictures and a lot of stuff on social media that proved they were very much the same kind of person, right? So if anything, it's even worse. So as her bridge, you know, again, another devastating blow. This is what I mean. Like, she had it tough, man. She had it tough, and it's not over yet. So her father ends up having a really bad flare-up, and he ends up hospitalized. I think at this point, there's perhaps some talk of surgery even. And like I say, it was really evident to me when she's telling me everything that's going on, that she was in such a case of fear. And I knew this was going to be tough. And again, congratulations to you, darling, because a brave, powerful mindset, you know, it just goes to show like how strong you truly are. Because I didn't wean her off anything. I was actually quite tough with her, and I made her drop all the techniques, all of them. And from a place of silence without any pressure, I would do what I always do. I start to challenge the subconscious, and I start to try and open up an awareness to something else. So I said to her, okay, well, if you never did another technique again, then who are you? And this is where the work started, because this is where we begin to crack the identity. I got her to say it to herself. If I never do another technique again, who am I? You can ask yourself that now. See, what is the first thing that comes up? Remember, this is how I work with people. Like I say, I'm always listening for the identity underneath the language, underneath the techniques. I'm always looking out for your assumptions that are running the show. And then I start asking questions that the old version of yourself just cannot sit comfortably with. And once that shifts, the story shifts in amazing ways. And I'm going to share with you the incredible events that led to her success in just a moment. Do not worry, I will share that in just a moment. Have a sip of your hot drink, because what I'm going to share with you first, though, is going to change your life, all right? Because if you don't spend the time understanding why it is we do the techniques and understanding what I'm going to share with you, you're going to end up trapped in the same loop as she was in. It's just going to be with a different desire or a different SP or but it's going to be the same issue. So are you ready? You ready? All right. So let me share those 3 rules that I promised I was going to share with you, okay? The first rule, the very first rule, and this is all going to help you as well in terms of lazy manifesting. Less is more. You're going to feel like effortless creators, because you're finally going to get it. Rule number 1, your methods are not the law. Your techniques are not the law. People go to town defending their techniques, and no, this technique is the best. You're not the technique. That's not what the law is about. They are merely props. The law is actually about who you are being. The whole time you are using the technique to become something, well, you're not being it, are you? Especially if you're using it in the way that Eleanor was using it. Now, like I say, a big difference between people who use techniques as like the creative act, or helping them with their manifestation, coming at it from the correct mindset, and the difference between those who don't is that some people, right, we're imagining to enjoy the end. But like I said before, some people are using it to regulate their anxiety. Especially, I think affirmations crowd, they do a lot. It's regulation of anxiety, isn't it? That's what a lot of people say. Yeah, my affirmations work because it's regulating my anxiety. And same with imaginal acts. I think that can also be used to regulate anxiety. But the problem is, you see, is it then becomes an OCD. If it's a case of, all right, I've got the intrusive thought, I've got the intrusive fear, let me engage myself in the ritual, the technique. From that, I'll get a short sense of relief. And then the fear comes back again. And then the cycle repeats and the cycle repeats. And sometimes it can get out of control. And you see, what's happening in that moment on a spiritual level is that we end up praying and worshipping the technique more than the I am. The way that some people talk about their techniques and defend their techniques like it's some sort of holy grail or something. It's just like, okay, you're not a technique. You're the I am who's actually engaging in this method. Now, if you are of a mindset of, okay, if I miss it, it's not going to happen. If I haven't done my affirmations 10,000 times, then, I've ruined it. Then if you're thinking that way, then you are affirming the power of your fear. You see what I mean? You're not even affirming the new state. You're not even being the new state. You're affirming the power of your fear. So with Eleanor, that's why it was very, very important for her situation, just cold turkey, full detox, no affirmations, no subliminals, no visual scenes. She wasn't allowed to bargain with reality anymore. Oh, when I tell you, it was tough for her because she cried a lot. In our sessions, there was a lot of tears. There was a lot of release. There was a lot of release of fear. Because she was concerned. She did say to me, yeah, but if I stop, I'm going to lose him. She'd been convinced, she'd been brainwashed into believing this way. And I just said to her very calmly sort of thing, and just challenged that fear. Are you trying to manifest a relationship with your SP and health for your father? Or are you trying to, keep a hostage alive with rituals? I know sometimes sometimes you have to be drastic with the subconscious. Just to really it's almost like, diminish that fear. Like, look, it's not rational. It's not rational to believe this fear. Because if you genuinely believe that if I don't say the right sentence enough times, if you genuinely believe I'm not going to get my manifestation if I don't do it enough times, then you don't trust the law at all. What you're trusting is your compulsion. That is what keeps everyone stuck. Right, rule number 2, you ready for this one? And this is the comfort. I've mentioned it before. Creation is finished. Creation is finished. So what you're doing is you're simply remembering the version of you that has. You're not trying to earn something from out there. That's why we say manifestation is not about trying to get things from the outside. You're not earning anything from the outside. You already have. You're accessing, you're remembering, you're connecting to something that already exists. The slogan is not, yes, creation is finished as long as you visualize correctly and affirm it, tens of thousands of times. No, creation is finished regardless. It's done. It already is so. And Neville's whole point was that, like I said before, you are already that which you desire to be. The technique doesn't make it true. At best, what it does is that it's tuning you into something that's already true. Does that phrase it better if I put it like that? It's tuning you into something that is already true. So I asked her, if all the techniques vanish tomorrow, say all the techniques vanish tomorrow, there's no more YouTube, there's no more SATs, there's no more subliminals. Would it be possible for you to be the daughter of a healthy father and a woman who is deeply loved, secure, and chosen? And of course she said yes, but she also said, yeah, well, I don't know how. And that's the thing, right? Because that's the perfect answer, because yes, of course. Well, how is none of our business anyway? How is the bridge? The bridge is not your job, but can you do it anyway? Can you be that anyway? You see, listen closely to the language. So that's from there that we started rewriting a lot of her assumptions. And like I say, the more that shifted, the more her imagination softened. She stopped with the big dramatic scenes, the massive apologies, the sort of desperate energy in the scene. And her imaginal acts was very much just a very natural, I could see my dad cooking in the kitchen and he's put on weight as well. He's heavier, he's healthier, he's happier. And I can see my SP sitting at the table, and he's passing food and eating and talking about his day with us and all of this stuff, right? So this then became her natural scene. It just felt like this was the life in which she belonged. It was a very different feeling to the big dramatic apology scene that she had. And you see, this is how you know that your state is changing. The scenes that you're playing in your mind, they get somewhat just kind of boring almost and solid. You're you're not trying to comfort a wound anymore by forcing an imaginal act. These are scenes that just came very naturally to her. You know, we're imagining all day long. And this is what happens when you're seeing yourself a certain way, when you're seeing through the eyes of you who is the daughter of a healthy father. Well, the daughter of a healthy father, of course, she's not projecting this sickness onto him anymore. She's seeing him well until it became a fact in her reality. So that brings us on to rule number 3. Rule number 3 is about the scene. It has to match your identity and not your fear. Please pay. Yeah. Please pay close attention to that. It must, whatever you do, it must match your identity, not your fear. Most people design their imaginal acts to soothe their wounds. So if for example, your core state is, okay, I'm always abandoned and, I'm not chosen, or I've been wronged. If that's my state, then yeah, my imaginal scene might be a bit like what hers was. Yes, they're sobbing and they're begging for forgiveness and they're promising they're never going to leave you. They choose you, right? Oh, it feels powerful. It feels emotional, but it also keeps you stuck as the one who finally got crumbs. You know what I mean? It's like, who are you in that scene, right? With Eleanor, like I say, that was essentially the scene that she was playing. That was the scene she was playing before she and I worked together and started breaking through her assumptions. Yes, it was him all upset that he'd made a terrible mistake and he's desperate for another chance and repeating that he chooses her and stuff like that. Yeah, it felt good. It felt good to her for 5 minutes. But like I say, who she was in the scene was the person who finally temporarily has avoided abandonment. This is not the version of her for whom love is just an ongoing, obvious, normal day-to-day life. Do you guys see what I mean? It's a different energy. It's a different feeling. So I asked her, a question about that, because when she first told me about the scene, I was like, oh, it sounds really dramatic. And it just doesn't, I don't know. I just knew it wasn't coming from the right place based on everything she was telling me. So I challenged her. I said to her, okay, well, if you say, for example, you've been with him for like 5 years, right? You're in a stable relationship. Would you still need him to be like swearing his allegiance to you that, listen, I'll always choose you. I'm never going to leave you, like every night. Would you desperately need that from him before you can go to bed? I mean, no, and she was laughing about that as well, because of course not, right? That would be weird. That would be weird. That would be very overkill. So yes, this is why we swapped this dramatic reunion for something incredibly ordinary. And like I say, she painted the scene herself. It wasn't like, let me think of an imaginal act and stuff like that. I mean, we imagine all the time, every day, quite naturally. And we left all of the techniques behind and we let her focus on her assumptions until she naturally started to have these daydreams, these visions, these imaginal acts, just playing very naturally, not forced. That's why I teach you guys about passive imagining, which I've done a video on. This is the way I do it too. I don't make such a big song and dance about it. So yeah, the way that you can tell if it's wrong or right is if your technique is feeling like some sort of therapy for your nervous system, rather than, say, a slice of your normal Tuesday afternoon in your dream life, then you are probably feeding the fear and not the state. Like I say, once her identity was anchored, she, like I say, she wasn't needing to do any techniques. Those images that she would have were just flashes that came in and they went out on their own. They were imaginal acts that just happened through the course of her day. She no longer had a ritual. She was no longer performing. What that was, when she saw her dad healthy, when she saw her SP, sitting in there sharing a meal, what she was doing in those scenes was just just a very natural tap into what her inner world looked like. It was no force. It was like, let me imagine to try and calm, let me imagine to try and manifest, let me imagine to, no, she'd already changed state. And this was like coming from that version of her, which really stabilized things. Now, let me tell you, because once she had these 3 rules set in, amazing things happened in the 3D. And really, I mean, her bridge is incredible. I always feel like bridges that unfold like within a matter of months, and I find that quite mind blowing, because as you know, I've been on some bridges myself, some of them very short, some of them have been very, very long. Now, she had achieved essentially a miracle. I was so inspired by her story, because what had happened was her father ends up finding a new gastroenterologist almost accidentally. It was really quite incredible how he found out about this. But it was a recommendation by someone just in passing at the hospital one day. Again, it was just really weird how it all came about. And this doctor was someone who was apparently specialized in remission through a mix of medication, lifestyle. I'm not sure if he used like holistic methods too. And this particular doctor changed everything for her father. Within a matter of weeks, his symptoms were reducing, and within a matter of months, I think his markers were improving dramatically. He was able to start gaining weight. Slowly, he would start going out again. Slowly, he was starting to reclaim his life again. And even the doctor was impressed that his case was really quite exceptional. Eleanor, at that time, of course, she wasn't totally surprised, because she was already living as the daughter who had a healthy father. Now, this, of course, has a domino effect. It alleviates the pressure that she had on herself, and she's naturally going out more, trusting, of course, that her dad is okay, that he can handle himself, that he's not as sick as all that. She goes out and she starts to enjoy life. She's out drinking with friends. She's catching up with them. Not Ava. Not Ava. They're still not talking. But she was able to go out and enjoy herself. And she was saying to me that it was just so freeing that she could actually be present in her day-to-day life. She wasn't there thinking, he's obsessed with me, he's coming back to me, he loves me. It was just like, it was all of that was just gone, and she was enjoying the present moment. And of course, when she least expected it, on a night out, guess who walks in? Her SP. Now, when they met each other, she said it was a bit awkward. There was that initial freeze, but he came up to her and he spoke to her, and it was as though nothing in his world, really. They talked in the end for hours that night, and he had mentioned to her how that he had missed her, how has she been, that he had thought about her numerous times, and she actually opened up as to the pain that she had felt and the confusion as to what happened between Ava and him. And believe it or not, and this is what's so crazy. This is what's so crazy, right? Or not so crazy, I should say. Because he had, in all of this time, he had no idea that she even liked him. He had no idea that Eleanor was even interested in him. He had misread her back then. He literally thought that she didn't want to know, because she always seemed to be too busy. She was busy with her dad and her life. But a part of him did start to question if she was maybe using it as an excuse to let him down gently, because even he was sort of aware that, I'm sure your dad will be all right, he'll manage it. This is not like a, totally debilitating thing. And so this is how he read it. But you see, the irony is that, he was right though. She had been too busy with her dad and her old identity. And it wasn't about the fact that she didn't care about him and that she was fobbing him off because she didn't want to date him. We all know that that wasn't the case. But, she didn't believe at the core of it. And this is something I want you guys to keep in mind, because many of you are carrying a very similar story. It's like one or the other. It's like a story of self-sacrifice when it comes to your desires. For her, it was like she did not believe that she could be a loving daughter and at the same time being a chosen woman. She didn't believe, she didn't know, she wasn't aware of, I should say, a reality where the two coexisted simultaneously. Because for her, like I said before, love came at a sacrifice, other people's needs above her own, right? She had to sacrifice herself. So, I spoke with her earlier, and I had asked her about sharing her success story, for which she graciously let me. So thank you, darling. This is to you. This is dedicated to you and your success. Because not all of my clients are willing to share their successes, or willing for me to share it, simply because there's a bit of a fear. There's a bit of a fear that their story might be recognized. But she graciously allowed it. And her recent update to me was essentially just to tell me that her dad is still continuing to do well. Her relationship with her SP is stable, and they're going to be spending Christmas together at her father's house. And also, she said they were planning a trip to Bavaria. I'm not even going to attempt the name of the market she's going to, but it's some sort of famous Christmas market in Bavaria, which you'll see in her screenshot anyway that I'd screenshotted up. But yeah, it was absolutely incredible. And that, even the trip to Bavaria is huge, because this is a girl who didn't want to leave her dad for one evening, let alone a matter of days to go abroad. So look at this, look at how much has turned around. So as you can see, how many of you are watching this thinking that, oh my God, that is like me, I've fallen into that trap. I'm doing it to manage my anxiety. I'm in this loop. I'm in this fear that if I drop the techniques, it's not going to manifest. How many of you are in this situation that you feel that your manifestations is like a full-time job, you know? Then I hope this was the message that you needed to hear, that has given you something, because you don't have an issue when it comes to techniques. You don't have a technique problem. There's a lot of techniques out there. That's why I don't really force and focus too much on techniques. The issue is that you have an identity and a compulsion problem more than anything. That's what it is. Because like I say, law of assumption, it never was, yes, say this phrase 500 times a day. You know, it's decide who you are and gently return to that decision regularly, and reality will rearrange itself around you. So take this away, make some notes, and start applying it to your own life, because it's truly important. Like I say, those of you who have messaged me about working with me on a one-to-one basis, check your spam folder, because I do respond to all of your emails. And now it is taking me even longer to get through all of your emails, especially as we get through festive season. I'm getting so many requests. I love you. I'm excited to work with you all. I do the best with my clients. We do have the Discord community if you need something quicker and more regular accountability. And get onto Sovereign Mind as well. Like I say, it's free. Make some friends, make some connections, maybe some dates. Maybe we'll share some success stories from people who have met off this incredible app. We love you guys. Thank you as always for being here, and I'll see you all in the next video.